it going, everyone? I just spilled my wax. Oh, I've got hot wax in my office and I just dumped it everywhere. Thankfully, I didn't get it on any critical components. Oh, I need a bigger office. So how's it going? Today is the Nindie showcase, as we have a really crappy start to the live stream and waxing myself. Oh well. I guess I'll just get on camera here and we'll just make it happen, Captain. Oh. How's it going, everyone? Bring up the chat over here on my laptop. Hopefully everyone is doing just lovely this morning. Alright, we bring up the chat here. Mute the stream. Alright. Hey, Xavier Vasquez. Let's see here. Ryan Gilbert, Raymond Legends, David B265, Super Mario, Dynamic Kirby, Marvel Master, and Ben Chomp. How's it going, everyone? There's a Nindie showcase in about 10 minutes here. I'll be watching it up on my office big screen, which isn't really that big. I mean, it feels big in the office I'm in. You know, speaking of how that's going to sound, 1 second. I think it's actually going to come through. I think it's actually going to come through my sound mixer, so I better better grab some headphones. Alright. Another thing I better double check is that my audio drivers are still set. Oh man, lovely day. I just want to make sure it's all set before we get to anything important. Yeah, it changed. Okay, we want to change that back to this. I figured it was going to change. Alright. And we're back. Oh, man. Sorry about all that. I have so much equipment and so much setting up to do. I had so little time to do it that, in the midst of this, I just spilled my, because I have a hot wax candle melter thing that I just spilled all over my finger and all over this desk. You can't see it on camera because it's off like over here. That's going to be fun. I have to scrape that off later. Oh well. Could have been worse. At least it didn't spill on my computer. And I had to get my headphones hooked up because all the audio stuff, I don't know. It's going crazy today. So for you wondering if this is going to be different than the random video that was thrown up for Europe, the answer is yes. It wasn't just a European video. I don't know why everyone thinks it was this big European thing, because there's also the exact same video on the North American YouTube channel, the same video on the Australian YouTube channel. That video that randomly released like a week back or so, or 2 weeks back, I can't even remember. It feels like it was a week ago. Is literally worldwide. It's not just a European or a UK thing. So yes, this is obviously different than that, because they released that worldwide. This is going to be, say they've been teasing some new announcements potentially. Some indie devs out there have been saying look forward to this. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Just cracking that up here before the stream really gets going. Now I do have the volume set a little high for the actual stream, so we can all hear the stream nice and loud, and my microphone is plenty loud enough to hear my reactions over the video, I think. I say that, and then I have to go adjust volume in the middle of the stream. Nothing ever goes perfectly right when you're here by yourself and you don't have anyone else on the mixer, anyone else on the on the actual computer streaming it. Like, I can't edit the stream at all, so what you see right now is what you get. All right, so let me just scroll up and see what some of the chat's saying here. Remember, we got 6 minutes until this bad boy starts. You think indie games or games made from India? I suppose I could see that. I could see that correlation. Dynamic Kirby says, I hope we see some good stuff. A Kamiko 2 reveal or a Spelunky port would be awesome. All right, I can dig that. Let's see here. Undertale, potentially, sure. Insurgency. Sega Ages. I don't think we're going to see Sega Ages here. Sega Ages is not an indie thing. Sega Ages is by Sega. And that's been delayed a couple weeks here. We already know when that's coming out. They already know pretty much everything we need to know about that. That's not good. That, at least, I shouldn't say it's not going to be, but that shouldn't be in an indie showcase because it's not an indie game. Not an indie collection. Subnautica is a good indie game. I hope comes to Switch. Okay, cool. The comments will be hidden on Nintendo. Yeah, probably. Being sick is sickening. Dude, I hear you. I've got a little bit of something. I think that cold I had, if you guys remember, I don't know if I ever fully got over it. It seems to still rear its head here and there. But, you know, I do the best I can here. Setting my phone aside in case something happens, an emergency. Raymond has a high chance to enter Smash. Sure, maybe. I don't know. Western character, not sure if they're going to do that. See some people feeling sick. School starts on Thursday. My kid's school starts next week, Tuesday, right after Labor Day in the U.S. So, let's see here. Expecting nothing so you can always be pleasantly surprised. That's usually the best way to go about any sort of Nintendo Direct or an indie showcase is expect. I mean, if you expect anything, expect stuff we already know, right? So I mean, you can't expect stuff we don't know, I guess, unless there's been hints or rumors or something about it. So I always say expect the known, like Travis Strikes Again, stuff like that. And then when we get surprises, it'll be like, oh man, big surprise. Again, it's an indie showcase, and the fact they did that Nindie thing, like a week back, and now they're doing this, tells me they must have some big Nindie announcements to do a whole showcase and advertise a showcase. So this will be interesting. Again, we got 4 minutes until it starts. Let's see here. Hope the show Travis Strikes Back. Yeah. Sorry, is it Travis Strikes Back? I don't know why I said Travis Strikes Again. Is it one or the other? I don't remember now. Now I'm confused. I thought I had it right. But yeah, I'm sure we'll see some more of that. That's a really big indie title. That's like that title that, it's a long running series now, and it's kind of on that in between. Is it really an indie? Is it a B tier? Can the indie game be a B tier? I think so. So I don't know. Oceanhorn 2, please. That would be cool. Shantae for Smash today. I mean, if there is going to be an indie character in Smash, it could get announced at an indie showcase. I don't think there's going to be. I think Shovel Knight being the first ever indie nod in Smash is a big deal. And I don't think they're going to overshadow how big a deal that is by throwing in a playable Nindie character. I think a lot of people would love to see a playable Nindie character, but reality is that they've never had one, and they've never even had one as an assist trophy. And now they just added Shovel Knight in as an assist trophy. So if they add Shantae or someone else playable, that's just going to peeve off a lot of people that wanted Shovel Knight to be playable. I think it's best if they just kind of leave it alone. I don't know that they're fully ready to bring indies in, especially since there is technically an indie Smash game in Brawlout that has tons of indie characters. Like, they're all indie characters. So I don't really think there's a big need to rush or force indie characters into it. I would just look to Brawlout, which has gotten a lot better since release, a lot better with their online stuff. And, go look to those people to see if they can work out some contracts and get some more indie characters added to Brawlout. Just like they just added Ukulele quite recently to that roster. Well, I guess it wasn't quite recently, but it was this year. Wait, what? It made me post my last comment twice. I was trying to say, wasn't Dark Souls revealed at an Indies Direct? No, Dark Souls was revealed at a Nintendo Direct Mini. That was not an Indies Direct. Also, they talked about Mario Tennis Aces in that one. They talked about Super Mario Party. And a couple others. But that was a Nintendo Direct Mini that they revealed Dark Souls Remastered. Let's see here. What if this is where they showed Metroid Prime 4? Guys. Get your expectations in check. This is a Nindie showcase. They're clearly showing independent games, indie games, Nindie games. Probably some new exclusives like Golf Story. Like, you know how we got Golf Story last year? Probably going to be some new exclusive indie games showing up. Like, we should be excited about the indie games. Stop being excited about first-party and AAA third-party games. That's not being shown here. We are seeing high-quality indie games. Be excited for those. Be excited for what we're going to get. Stop expecting to see more than we're going to. Like, that's just unrealistic. They would never show off like a Metroid Prime 4 at an event like this because it would overshine every other independent game in the whole thing. It would just be a big middle finger, read between the lines. A big oh, here we go. It's starting early. Here we go. Oh, actually, it's right on time. Here we go. And I can't hear anything. Oh. Hope I was plugged in all the way. Make sure the audio is working for you guys. 1 second.
World wielding forgotten technology only you can use to find a cure. And it looks like we've uncovered some exclusive content for Nintendo Switch. Check out this outfit. With this equipped, the Drifter can better locate secrets like gear bit crates and drifter bones.
Did I not say there would be technical difficulties?
Weapons, including the Crystal Shot and the Deadly Blade Caster, the reward for completing Tower Climb, which is exclusive for the Nintendo Switch. You won't have to wait long to explore the land of buried time. Hyperlight Drifter Special Edition is available for pre-purchase today and launches on September 6th.
All right. Towerfall. Nice. Fun little game. Gold's dead. There we go. Alright.
Towerfall is an archery combat game for up to 6 players, perfect for competitive local play on the Nintendo Switch system. With simple controls, everyone can jump in, but only the fiercest friends can master the advanced mechanics and secure victory. Towerfall includes all the Ascension and Dark World add-on content, and 4 additional variants have been added, which give you over 90 options to customize your multiplayer. Since this game is created by Matt Makes Games, we're pleased to announce a special characters that are joining the fray. Madeline and her reflection battling. Together, they form one remarkable heroine in Celeste, but in Towerfall, you can duke it out as either character.
Nice.
Towerfall ascends onto the Nintendo Switch on September 27th and is available for pre-purchase today.
All right. Little Celeste
Hook
love in there.
shots, long shots, grappling hooks. These are a few of my favorite things. They're useful in grabbing something or someone, and in the case of Treasure Stack, falling blocks.
Okay. It's
Treasure
kind of an
Stack
interesting
adds
take on a
unique
Tetris style
platforming
game.
mechanic to the traditional falling block puzzle formula by giving you control of a whimsical cast of heroes who navigate the playing
I
field.
like unique takes on
Precise
classic
platforming
concepts
and
like
mastery
this.
of the grappling hook will separate expert stackers from mediocre slackers.
Especially when we see so many puzzle
Arrange
games.
stacks
I've never
of
seen one
light-colored
quite like
treasure
this.
chest and then connect the corresponding key to earn points. And thanks to cross-platform play, you'll be able to stack online with more friends and foes in versus mode or locally with up to 4 players. Treasure Stack drops onto the Nintendo Switch this winter. Zarvat is a charming arcade game about friendship amongst cubes.
Ooh, look at this.
In the game's story mode, follow Charcoal and Mustard's adventure through 9 worlds
That is
as they
cool.
attempt to cheer up their best
I like the art direction on this
fight
one.
evil bananas,
Like this kinda
dangerously
realistic
frozen milk
style
cartons,
look.
and make the ultimate birthday present.
And then you just
In
have
versus
cubes.
mode, challenge your friends to some cutthroat cube action in 5 game modes across over a dozen handcrafted origami Thunderdomes. Play with or against your friends, crashing through destructible walls and duking it out with missiles and lasers. And exclusively for Nintendo Switch,
Banana.
play as Joybot, an enemy spawner controlled with a single Joy-Con. Use tilt controls
Okay,
to move
that's
Joybot
the
around the
banana.
map, challenging other players to take you down. Zarbot launches first on Nintendo Switch this
All right.
October. Have you heard? Mineko's Night Market is coming to consoles first on Nintendo Switch.
Oh, hey, I saw it. Come on.
Why does this look familiar? I like the art style. Got that hand-drawn 2D style. Secret agent man. Go, 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 go. Little piggy, or whatever that is. Meow, jeez. I don't know why this is giving me Animal Crossing vibes, even though it's very clearly not an Animal Crossing style game. Okay. But it
Don't
just
tell
gave
my
me the
dog
vibes.
this, but late at night, I've been thinking about raising cats, racing cats, and most incriminating of all, petting cats. And thanks to Mineko's Night Market
Oh, they
coming
have to make a big
first
deal
to
out of.
Nintendo
You
Switch,
can pet cats.
I can do all that and more.
I
You
could
play
kind of
as
do that in
Mineko,
Breath of the Wild.
a curious girl who just arrived
the
at her new
princess?
home on a Japanese-inspired island at the base of Mount Fugu. Mineko's Night Market boasts over 20 hours of story-based gameplay, including 4 regions to explore, diverse villagers to meet, quests to undertake, and activities like sewing and woodworking to keep you busy and in business at the weekly night market.
Looks more
And
interesting
most
than I
importantly,
expected when I first
there
saw
are
it.
cats. Lots of cats. My favorite is a mythical cat named Abe that the locals worship. Well, they believe he's a myth.
Hitting hard
Mineko's
on the
Night
whole
Market is
cat
open for
thing.
business in early 2019.
Very Japanese. Early
A princess, a golem, a samurai knight, and a homeless girl all play a part in rewriting the fate of Gun City forever.
I just want that
In
polo
Samurai
with the
Gun
Switch
2,
badge.
play alone or with a friend in an
Place
all-new
this E3
adventure.
shirt I'm wearing.
Explore a medieval metropolis on the brink of crisis and discover the mystery behind Gun City's ghostly threat. A mad emperor pushes to expand the city at a ridiculous pace, an epidemic of gunpowder overdoses is on the rise, and old spirits are creeping back into the world.
It looks good.
Take a break from Gun City and battle with a group of up to
I know I
4
see a lot of your
friends
guys'
in classic versus
comments
mode,
about how you're sick
now
of
with
8-bit and
improved
16-bit
controls,
games.
New levels and new characters. Armed with a sword, a gun.
I don't know.
and
Like,
3
there's a
bullets
lot
for
of
life,
unique things being
hone
done with
your
8-bit and
reflexes to
16-bit
dodge
games
an
that weren't
impending
possible
doom
back in
and
the
send your
day.
opponent's
So I'm
head
not
to
really
roll.
bothered by it.
You can also enjoy
Not everyone has to be into it,
the
though.
samurai gun graphic novel by French comic artist Valentin Sèche, with smooth touch controls
I like that.
exclusively for the Nintendo Switch version.
Graphic
Samurai
novel?
Gun 2 will release in early 2019. Don't Talk to Strangers is
Bill
a rule
Trinan
known
hasn't
as
hosted
children,
in a long time.
But after nuclear fallout, some precautions go out the window. In Bullet Age, take on the role of Ash and a mysterious stranger on a quest to save New Haven after Evil Ark's mutagen blast changes it forever. Bullet Age is a co-op action game with an intuitive mix of sword and gun combat, challenging platforming, and a charming cartoon art style. Explore a world spanning multiple
Yeah, it's a
continents,
beat-em-up game.
upgrade your weapons with unique bullet types, and learn new abilities to help you
Okay.
survive the decimated
'em up.
wasteland.
Could take
And
that.
thanks to HD Rumble, you can feel your attacks and combos gaining strength and locate hidden secrets. Bullet Age launches as a console exclusive for Nintendo Switch this
Okay,
November.
so it's gonna also be on PC. Still, that looks really cool.
The World Next Door is a story-driven game that follows June, a rebellious teen girl trapped in a parallel world inhabited by magical creatures. You will meet and develop friendships with an eclectic cast of characters by means of a reputation system,
I like the
which
choices.
features branching dialogue based on your choices. Advance the story by defeating your opponents in fast-paced, real-time puzzle battles by activating runes to cast spells.
Trying to
There will
understand
also
what
be
the
a
puzzle
local
is.
1v1 versus mode where
I
you
mean, I
can
get
face
it.
off
You're
in puzzle
activating
battles.
the
You
combined
can unlock
symbols.
new levels and characters to play as in the story mode. Drop by the World Next Door in early 2019.
Yeah. Different. It's different.
Do you have a head for level building? Well, then Levelhead is perfect for you.
Levelhead. Run, puzzle, jump, kick, poke, and shrug. Across trillions of levels handcrafted by players just like you. Build the level of your dreams and other people's
Oh,
nightmares.
level editor, yes.
Levelhead's maker is so slick it'll make
Oh,
you
I love when
fall.
games add level editors in.
Then warm up your glutes and grab up to all 3 of your
I don't
friends.
think those
for some
things have
couch co-op
glutes.
action. And if your buddies are into building too, then dive into the maker with everyone at once. Hungry for fame
Love
and
that epic
glory?
voice.
Then place the final block in your level and publish it to the Level Hub, where other players can play
Okay.
and follow you. But what is the following? What is life without the joy of creation? Is Levelhead a game about building and sharing love, or is life just a game about building and sharing love? Well, I don't know. Just make some levels and quit being weird about it. Levelhead. Make fun.
All right.
Now get out of my way. I got things.
That's it. I love level
up
editors
your
like that.
creative
That's cool.
skills when Levelhead releases this November.
Yeah, yeah, it's like Mario Maker, but not Mario Maker. I'll
Hold
take
on
that.
to your
That's neat.
hat, because
I like
in
that
this
stuff.
next game, losing it may cost your life. Crush your friends' hats before they crush yours in King of the Hat, a
King of the Hat.
fast-paced, hat-based party game. Matches are short and
I never thought in my life I would ever hear
on the go.
the
Your
phrase,
friends
this
can
is a
quickly join the fun thanks to
hat-based
simple
party game.
two-button controls. And you can play
As a
with up to
video
4
game,
players
anyway.
locally
I
to
could see it
become
as like
team
a,
in ranked
you
online
know,
multiplayer.
like a board game style thing. You know,
Choose
like
from over
like the game
15
Headbands.
characters with unique backstories, like Birthday.
This
whose
is a
birthday is every day,
hat-based game.
Fat Cat, a money-loving business villain, and
Looks
my
like
favorite,
ice cream
Washing
cones on their
Machine,
head.
who's tired of being filled with Fat Cat's dirty loads of laundry. King of the Hat heads out in early 2019. Okay, I'm no biologist, but I'm pretty sure geese are at the top of the food chain. Untitled Goose Game is a genre all its own. Part stealth, part sandbox, and all goose simulator. The focus is on the slapstick humor as you play the role of the horrible goose. Your goal, should you choose to accept it,
These
is
things
to
are
ruin
just funny.
everyone's day in town.
These simulator kind of games.
Take on challenges like having a picnic, stealing hats, and generally causing chaos in the lives of the townsfolk. The Goose is Loose in early 2019.
It has no title. They should just
Want
call
some
it the
more games
Goose's
to add
List.
to your wish list? Let's take a sneak peek at some of the other exciting indie games coming to Nintendo
Okay,
Switch.
these probably
later
already
this year.
announced games. No. You Don't Know Jack. Yeah, I remember You Don't Know Jack. Anyone else play You Don't Know Jack on PC back in the day? That was a fun game. A little trivia game. Yep, The Messenger. There it is. 2 days. heard some very good things about that. Dragon Mark to Death. Oh yeah, look at that. That looks cool. I want the stream quality just dropped. What are you doing, Nintendo? Oh, there it is.
All right. That's just a slice of the awesome indie content you can play on Nintendo Switch in the months ahead. To keep tabs on it all, we've got your back with a news flash. If you're hungry for indie updates, we're launching a new channel on your Nintendo Switch system dedicated specifically to indie games.
That's cool.
Get the latest announcements, in-depth Q&As, developer stories, and more. And indie games are all about innovation, so expect the unexpected as well. The Indie channel is live today, so head to Find Channels in the News app and subscribe. From all of us at Nintendo, we would like to thank our talented indie game developers for bringing their content to Nintendo.
Come on, say there's at least one more.
And thanks to all of you for tuning in today and supporting indie games. Hold on.
Okay, there we go.
It seems that we have one more announcement.
So it's gotta be a Travis Strikes Again or something. Oh, no. What is this? What is this? What is this? I'm liking this. Turn-based tactics game. Nintendo made a big enough deal about it to put it at the end. Oh, good failure. Into the Breach. Oh, what's available right now? Nice. That's the game they ended with, though, huh? Huh. All right. I like Into the Breach. That looks interesting. That does look interesting. I might pick up that one if it's not priced too high. That looks cool. I like those turn-based tactic-style games like that. You guys remember, like I did a review of Tiny Metal earlier this year. I really like those kind of games. Those little turn-based military. In this case, it looks like you're combating against aliens or something, or bugs. I don't know. Oh man. So, I guess my initial reaction to the Nindie Direct is a little underwhelming. Mostly because I thought, like, it almost feels like what they showed last week or whatever when they did that little indie video was like better, bigger games than they did in a showcase that they advertised and hyped people up. Well, they didn't hype people up like crazy for it, but they advertised people to come watch this live stream. And now I feel like the video they released last week was actually a better showcase of indie games. I feel like what they did here, they basically said, look, we're going to put a Nindie showcase together just so we can announce the new Nindie channel. I feel like that Nindie channel is the entire reason they did this showcase. And that's not me dissing any of the games. I actually think a lot of the games look really, really cool. But, you know, none of them are like those, like, knock your pants off kind of game. You know, we didn't get like a Dead Cells, you know, like one of those indie games, or a Celeste, like something that just blows your mind and it's like, whoa, okay. Like, we might complain about 16-bit and 8-bit art styles and all this stuff being like what 90% of indie games do. But man, that particular one, that one blew my mind. I didn't really get that moment. And I'm not saying I necessarily expected it. I thought we'd at least see Travis Strikes Again. It's been so long since we've seen anything from Travis Strikes Again. I thought for sure we'd see some more of that, or something. But yeah, what we got was good games. We got good games. It's hard for me to complain about good games. This was short. It was succinct. What did we hit? Like 15 minutes? You know, so it's like 15 minutes long, short, succinct. We got a brand new, looks like a high-quality indie game landing today. The Messenger in a couple days, a whole bunch of other games coming over the next couple months. This is... Because a lot of people talk about how the Switch is just full of shovelware. And I don't know if people understand what shovelware really means, because there's a lot of people that just think all indie games are shovelware. Like... No, not all indie games are shovelware. Indie games can be a lot of things. Some AAA games are shovelware. Like it's very interesting. Like nothing I saw in this I would classify as shovelware. Every single game that's like a high quality game in the genre it's in, with some very unique takes on different things, and I like that. And when they do showcases like this, I think it's also to point out that hey, all these people saying all the shop has is shovelware. Like, are you even playing the games? You go to the shop and you see a bunch of indie games. You're like, oh, look at all this shovelware. And it's like, but did you actually play the games? I'm not saying there's not bad games on the eShop. I actually have one of the bad games on my Switch. But, like, I don't think that really makes up a vast majority of the library of games. I've tried out demos of and been sent keys for many of these different games for Steam and all that stuff and tried them out now that they're on Switch. And I wouldn't classify most of them as shovelware. And I feel like that indie video last week and the indie showcase this week just reinforces that a lot of these indie games coming out are top tier, high quality titles that are worth your time and worth your money if you're into it. And I think that's one thing we have to remember when we talk about shovelware is you not being into indie games does not make indie games shovelware. You not being into 8-bit and 16-bit art styles anymore is not indicative of it being shovelware. So you got to create that separation between what actually is shovelware and what is just a game. And to me, like there'll be some people that even say Just Dance is shovelware. I'm like, I don't even think Just Dance is shovelware. It's just a continuous, ongoing series that updates its music every single year because there's new music every year, and obviously new dance moves and all that stuff. But I don't even consider that shovelware necessarily. Shovelware to me is more so. Shovelware is basically. There's a few things that go into how I define shovelware. One, the game's just crap. Okay, so it's a crap game. Just buggy, mess, barely functions. I mean, you might even crash on the damn home screen. So one, it's basically a broken game. And then two, it's a broken game that's trying to use the premise of an already popularized game. So as an example, the zillions of Flappy Bird clones that came out. I'm not saying all those clones are bad and all those clones are shovelware, but a lot of them were extremely low effort, buggy, broken messes. That's shovelware. And that happens with AAA games as well. You'll see a studio try to mimic, say, a Zelda game. And they don't have the budget of a Zelda. They don't have the team to make a Zelda game. They might not have the understanding of a Zelda game. So they'll go about trying to make a Zelda game. And there was actually this case in China that tried to do this like a handful of years back. They tried to make a Zelda game. And it came out, and everyone was saying that it's basically an exact ripoff. There might have even been code from the Wind Waker in the damn thing. Just lazily put together, buggy, broken, doesn't do anything unique. It's just the same game. That's genuinely what I consider shovelware to be. See, I can't consider Just Dance to be shovelware because Just Dance does it differently than DDR does, because DDR was like that first big dance craze kind of game. There was some games before it, to be fair, but that was the one that like really brought it into the mainstream. And Just Dance revolutionized that and made that really easy to do at home without having to have a dance pad. And then it just kind of went from there. Just Dance is its own thing now. The things that copy Just Dance are the shovelware. The things that Just Dance itself is not. But that's just my my opinion, of course. And usually with Just Dance, I think there's enough gameplay modes, I think there's enough songs, I think there's enough new dance moves every year to justify it. I don't buy it every year. I basically buy it a year when it has music in it I really like, because I like Just Dance. I have Just Dance 2017. I got it at launch of Switch. I think there's some Just Dances that I like and some that I don't, and it all comes down to music. You got the music I like, I'm there. You got the music I don't like, and that, that's just how it goes. I think that's part of the appeal of Just Dance is the music. To me, Just Dance stopped being good when you added the phone. See, I disagree with that because all they did with the phone, and I've actually played Just Dance with the phone, even on my Switch, all they did with the phone is say, look, all we're using in Just Dance, right, is the gyroscope, the accelerometer or whatever inside your Wiimote, inside your controller, inside your Joy-Con, right? They're just using the motion control capability. Guess what? The things that create that motion control ability that Joy-Cons use and all that stuff is in this. It's in a phone. That technology is in the phone. So it's not really downhill because you use the phone as a controller. It just makes sense. Why not cheaply include a device everyone already has to add extra players in? It just makes way too much sense to do it that way. That's just my opinion, though. I agree. You use the Joy-Con on Switch, perfect control. I mean, that's exactly what using the phone. They're just using the gyroscope and the accelerometer inside your phone the same way they use the Joy-Con. Yeah, it's just an extra control. I think there is Just Dance on phones too, obviously. But I mean, just because it's on a phone, that's a whole other conversation. Just because a game's on a phone, is it shovelware? No. Come on now. Just Dance is obviously going to be on a phone. I don't know. I've never played it, so I'm not exactly sure how it works. I don't know if it tries tracking you with the camera, like they were doing with Xbox. Or if you actually have to dance like with this, I'm not exactly sure. I've never actually tried it out on phone. I know it is on phones. I probably should download it sometime and try it, just so I understand how it. I mean, maybe the phone version is just such a crappy version of Just Dance that it's not even worth looking at. But it is something I should probably check out. Let's see here, Mr. Snappy Paws. Thank you so much for your $5. He says, it sucked like really bad, and no wonder nobody played Nintendo, to be honest. I'm disappointed. Like, where's Firewatch? Where's Save the World mode and others? Is that, I don't know if I said that right. That's what that word looks like to me. Like, I don't think the Indie Direct sucked. I think it just lacked that big, either a brand new, shocking, exclusive game that just looks out of this world like a Golf Story did back in the day, or it lacked that punch. It lacked that one game that you're just like, yeah, if I didn't like all the rest of the games, I'm definitely gonna like this one. It lacked that, but all the games it showed were great. I know you want to see Firewatch, but you know what Firewatch is, right? Like, it's not like we don't know what Firewatch is. So if and when that comes to Switch, I think it's supposed to be coming to Switch. It's not going to be surprising that the game's good because it's Firewatch. We already know. I like Nindie showcases to show off games we might not necessarily know about. The video last week would have been a video to put Firewatch in, I feel like. Because that video featured basically a bunch of games we already knew were coming. I know they did that in this case, especially during that little slice, where they showed, what was it, a half dozen or a dozen games? Something like that. Enjoy that cash, $4.90. Well, he's on mobile, so that's why it's $4.99. When you're, I can't remember if it's Apple or Android devices. One of the two. If you try super chatting through it, for some reason it doesn't let you do $5. It's $4.99, or it's 99 cents for $1, $1.99. It's really weird. Anyways, you really wasn't flaming Nintendo. I think we need to step off on that. Like, someone being disappointed in the Indie Direct because it didn't show the games they wanted to see, that's not flaming. That's just them wishing that the games they wanted to see were in the showcase. I don't think that's a big deal. Honestly. Like, truly, honest to goodness, I honestly don't think that's a big deal. People are allowed to criticize. It's okay. Let's see here. Isn't the Nintendo Online app basically abandoned? By that I mean it only is just used for Splatoon. No, it is not abandoned. You didn't see my video on that? It is not abandoned, man. They have added or when the Nintendo Switch Online launches, all of the 10 NES games that launch with it will be using the voice chat applications of the Nintendo Online app. Diablo 3 is going to be using the voice chat applications of the Nintendo Online app. If nothing else, they are doubling down on the app. It took this long, but now that the Nintendo Switch Online system's coming out, now they're doubling down. So, no, the app's not going anywhere. They did not abandon it. I know it felt like they did, but you got to remember, technically, the app as it is right now was a beta. Technically. They called it a beta. So, once Nintendo Switch Online launches, I think you're going to see a lot more support for the app. Not that I think voice chat is the best way. I think as a companion app, it'd be great. As a voice chat app, no. I mean, maybe optional. Like if you were lobbies and you could join someone's lobby on their Switches while you're not at home and just chat with them. I think that would be cool as like an optional voice chat thing. But as the primary way to voice chat while you're playing games on Switch, especially with how it works in Splatoon, so you got to go back and forth between the system and the phone. System and the phone. And if you load the app before the system, you got to close the app and then bring it back up at a certain point, at the correct point while you're connected to voice chat. in the game. It's such a convoluted system that just makes voice chat way too complicated. Before, the way it works in another system is you join the lobby of the game and you're voice chatting, unless you turned it off. Pretty simple. But now you got to join multiple lobbies and go back and forth between devices, and it's just not better. Nintendo tried to make it sound like it was like this next step evolution in voice chat. It's not. He says no wonder nobody plays Nintendo. That's just what you have to understand is in the heat of the moment. In the heat of the moment, when someone's upset with something, they say things that are just out of frustration, right? Like Mr. Snappy Paws has been around this channel for a little bit. I don't think he hates Nintendo. I think it's just he's disappointed, and he's allowed to be disappointed, and that's fine. Obviously, the moniker "nobody plays Nintendo" is not true. We're still seeing games come out every single week that are selling hundreds of thousands of units. It just topped the MPD charts in July, and Octopath Traveler topped, even Grand Theft Auto 5, which I know it's like, it came out. Grand Theft Auto 5 is a huge seller every month. Obviously, people are playing their Switches and people are playing their Nintendos. Like, it's more so a comment of frustration because maybe he is not playing his Switch as much as he wants to because he doesn't have content on it that he wants to play right now. Basically, I give the benefit of the doubt when people say stuff like that out of frustration, not just because he gave me $5. It has to do with I've been around this community a long time, been 20 years. So in my 20 years, that's not that bad. I can tell the difference between someone who's just disappointed and someone who actually is hating on Nintendo, like legit hate. That Nindie's Direct sucks. Jeez. If these indies aren't cell phone games, also, I'd be willing to give a few of them a go. Is it because if they're cell phone games, you're just going to get them on your phone? Or is it because if it's a cell phone game, you automatically dismiss it as a game? I'm just very curious. Because if you're interested enough to give a few of them a go, why should it matter if it's on your phone unless you're going to prefer to play them on your phone? I just hope it's not the latter, where it's like, because it's also on a phone, I'm dismissing it. I hope that's not what you're saying. I think that's a terrible way to look at things. One minor thing I think would have made the Switch a bit better is themes for the menu. A small thing, but yeah, that's not something they're going to talk about in Nindie Direct. That's something that if they were going to do that, that's at the next big Nintendo Direct. Or the one after that, or the one after that, or they just never do it. Will Nintendo release the Metroid Prime Wheelogy this year? You mean the trilogy? Only one of the games is exclusive to the Wii. So it would just be another... It would just be... I don't think they're going to release the Metroid Prime trilogy this year. They'd have to HDify all the games. I don't think they're going to release them in their current Wii forms. They're going to have to HD them all to bring them over. I think that's something that's going to take a little time. I think it's something they might release either before Metroid Prime 4 or right after Metroid Prime 4. We still aren't even sure if Metroid Prime 4 is going to be a 2019 game. I know it's a nice assumption, but we really don't know. It could be 2020. We have no idea how far along in development Metroid Prime 4 is. We have yet to see gameplay, which tells you... We have yet to see anything but a logo, which tells you they probably weren't that far along when they announced it. So we could still be years away from Metroid Prime 4. But I do think if we're not getting Metroid Prime 4 next year, it makes a lot of sense to bring out an HD kind of remastering or retexturing, like they do with Twilight Princess HD and stuff like that, of the Prime trilogy before Prime 4 comes out. Since it's been so long since we've had a Prime game, it might be good to go back and play those games heading into 4. And again, people are going to say, ports! You're asking for more ports! I'm like, I'm not really. I don't think there's anything wrong with ports. I don't have any issue with all the Wii U ports and all the old generation ports. I don't have any issue with ports. There's just got to be a balanced lineup, right? Like, you can have all the ports, but also balance it with new games. Indie games can be new games. I love indie games. I talked about in a video before how I almost want to stop calling them indie games because calling them indie games makes people dismiss them. Like, look at all these complaints today about, I'm sick of this 18-bit, 16-bit style, and then Octopath Traveler comes out, which is that style, and suddenly it's the best-selling game in July. And you don't see the same complaints for that game. And we could talk about, it's using real-time Unreal Engine effects. I get that, but at its core, it's a 16-bit game. don't see anyone complaining. So it's like, I'm not saying not anyone, but not as much people that complain about indies because people don't consider that an indie game. It got a physical release. It's by Square Enix. They don't consider that to be an indie title. And I think if we get rid of the indie moniker, stop looking at the company making the game, and instead judge games based on their own quality. I mean, is Octopath Traveler really better than Dead Cells? I don't know. I'd say there's a debate. I got to play a bit more Dead Cells for me to be sure, but everyone I've talked to says Dead Cells is maybe the best Metroidvania to ever exist, better than Castlevania and Metroid. I mean, just that good. Just like a lot of people think Celeste is the best platformer ever. I think we can't just dismiss games because they're indies. Some mobile phone games I've enjoyed way more on the Switch because of microtransactions being removed. That's true. Yep, there's some mobile phone games on Switch that do not have the microtransactions, which is awesome. That's the way it should be done. If you're gonna charge an upfront cost that you do not charge on phones, you can't include the microtransaction method. Now, if you're gonna release them free to play on Switch, then I kind of think it's kind of open to whatever you want to do. Just like in Overwatch, when you can buy just like in Fortnite, you buy that currency to buy stuff. Like that's microtransactions. I think that's fine when the game's free. But then we have AAA games that do it. So I mean. That's hard to get mad if a mobile game decides to do it when we have $60 products doing it. People get so tired of 8-bit stuff. I've never seen anyone say it about 16-bit. They just said it in this chat. Ultimate Keymaster. You scroll up and read through the chat as the Nindie Direct was going on. Complaints about 8 and 16-bit. It was both. It was both being complained about. The more and more of them that were shown, the more and more complaints that kept popping up. Cornflakes says, I actually pay attention to the word indie more because it says underdog to me personally, so it's more of an appeal. Yeah, no, I get you. I just think that, I mean, we have a ton of indie success stories. It's obviously not something that's preventing indies from being a success. I think it's just a mentality that a lot of people have where they see the word indie, they go to the eShop and they see indie games and they're just like, yup, crap, yup, crap, yup, crap. Where's my new Mario? Where's my new Halo? Where's my new Call of Duty? Where's my, like, asking for all these just major big games that they don't even release necessarily that often on the other platforms either. Yes, they release way more often over there than they do on Switch, of course, because they get all of those big games. But they always come like in droves, right? Like you have a month where here's 5 of them, and then you don't get anything for like a month or two. It's just, I don't know. I started going hard on indies after you played Hotline. Ooh, Hotline Miami's a good one. That's a good one. I'm glad that they have the Hotline Miami stuff in Travis Strikes Again. That's going to be a really cool level. Ridiculous. Why do they need a showcase for crappy games? This is what I'm talking about. None of the games showed today are crappy. None of them. They might not appeal to you. That doesn't make them crap games. There are games that don't appeal to me that I don't think are crap. I'll give you an example. I am not that interested in Celeste. I have watched lots of gameplay of it, tons of it. People live stream it, and it's a really fun game to watch people play. And everyone who plays it said it's fantastic. It's not the kind of platforming I enjoy. It is very, very super challenging, super punishing, twitchy platforming. And that's great. It's just like in Super Mario Maker when you see people do those crazy levels doing moves I didn't even know Mario could do. And it's awesome and it's really impressive and fun to watch, but that's not I don't like that kind of platform. I don't like the Twitch based if I go to wipe a bead of sweat off my hand, I'm dead kind of game like that for my platforming. I like a more slower, more deliberate, more Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze style difficulty of platforming than I like the more Twitch based style that's really fast paced. And that's fine. That doesn't mean that I think Celeste is a bad game just because it doesn't appeal to me. Am I comparing those crappy games in this showcase to Celeste? Yes, I am. I saw several games in this showcase that are just, to me, as high quality as Celeste. They're just in genres you probably don't enjoy. Hellblade was from an indie. Yes, it was. Hellblade is a very unique case. Now the studio is owned by a big company, so it's not even indie anymore. And yeah, Hellblade was a very unique case because that was basically people who left the AAA industry and said, we're done. We're done with the AAA industry because our bosses keep telling us we can't do this and we can't do this and we don't have the budget for this. And they said, we don't need a damn budget. We're going to make this on our own money, as little money as possible, and put out this AAA quality game. And they were able to do that because the core team they had were all people that had a high experience with that engine, high experience making those kind of models, high experience with animation, high experience at doing high-quality stuff like that. That's usually not what most independent studios come from. Most independent studios are up-and-comers. They're up-and-comers that just got into the industry, or if they've been in the industry for a while, they've only ever made their kind of games. Hellblade's a very unique use case that, yes, proves it's possible if more and more people want to leave AAA development and form new studios. But most people don't want to leave steady paychecks, retirement, 401ks, health insurance plans. Like, it's a lot you have to give up to risk becoming the next Hellblade. And even if you look at it, who knows if those people at Hellblade, like if they weren't bought, who knows if the Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice game even ended up being a better payday than what they were making at their other jobs. So, you know, it's just it's awesome. I wish more AAA developers had the balls to do it, but God, it's hard to expect a lot of games like Hellblade, like a lot of studios to crop up that can do Hellblade. You know, I think the group behind Yooka-Laylee, Playtonic Games, another one that has some experience, but a lot of them were so out of practice with making high-quality games that, yeah, Yooka-Laylee is actually really, really good. It's just not as good as people hoped it would be, right? People were hoping it would be Banjo-Kazooie 3. That's what they were hoping, which was a very unrealistic expectation. Granted, they kind of made us feel like it would be that, and it's still a very good game, but it's also one of those that's one of the bigger indie studios out there making games that aren't like your 16-bit 8-bit style games. You know, they're a bigger studio that has AAA development experience. But, you know, they're making platformers because that's what they love. Nothing wrong with that. We'll see what they do next. You know, maybe they will end up making their own Hellblade kind of game. You know, a game that comes out of nowhere that just blows people's minds on a super low budget based on the profits off of Yooka-Laylee. But again, it's very hard for companies to do that. And there's a lot of cases where companies have come together and not been good. Anyone remember Big Red Button? They made a certain Sonic game that might be the worst Sonic game ever made. And that featured a bunch of AAA developers from Naughty Dog and other big AAA studios. So, like, even when you bring AAA developers together, it doesn't really guarantee you're going to do something great. Hellblade was a very unique case where it was the right people and the right talent on the right team getting it done with the same vision. A very unique case that, unfortunately, doesn't come around often enough for many reasons. Spawn is streaming right now. I'm sure he is. He's probably reacting to the showcase and playing a indie game. Maybe he's playing that brand new game that just came out. Hellblade 2 is possible? Well, of course Hellblade 2 is possible. A Hellblade 2 is going to happen. Why would they not make a Hellblade 2? Unless this is a case where that studio feels like Hellblade's its own standalone game. It doesn't need a sequel. We're going to make another game, a different game. That's always possible too. That comes up to the studio and their vision. Not every game that comes out is necessarily meant to have a sequel. I know it doesn't feel like that these days. Hasn't felt like that for a while. Basically, oh, this game's a success. Got to have a sequel. Same thing happens in movies, right? You release a standalone movie and you're like, oh man, this movie blew up. Better make a sequel. And it's like, don't, unless you were already planning for it to be a series, don't do that. Because usually you just make an inferior product because you never had that in the cards. It was never a plan. So now you're just kind of forcing ideas to make a second one work to build off the hype of the first. And sometimes it works out, of course, but a lot of times I think it just ends up not being as good. And I feel like if they would have just moved on to what they were hoping their next project would be, their next idea, if that game had just done okay and made enough money to fund it, then do that. But, you know, again, I don't know what their plans are. Maybe they've always planned for Hellblade to be a series if enough people bought it. Let me see here. That direct was garbage, and I mean it. It's fine. You guys are free to dislike the direct. I didn't think the direct was garbage. I think it was a letdown. I'll say it was a letdown. Only because there wasn't that big wow moment, but what they showed was all high-quality games. And I can't complain about seeing more high-quality games. What's Hoi 4? I don't know what that is. Watch Dogs is an interesting case. I'd like to see them try to get, because we had Watch Dogs on Wii U. I'd like to see them try to get Watch Dogs 2 on Switch. It's just, I don't know. Ubisoft's in that weird place where they're having success on the platform, but they're doing it without bringing over their big games. So I don't know where Ubisoft's head is at when it comes to that. I think Starlink is a very interesting use case for their new IPs. If Starlink does very, very well on Switch, is it possible future new IPs, like back when they made For Honor, if that would have been during the Switch's era, could Switch have gotten that game? I think, I don't know about their pre-established IPs, but definitely I think if Starlink does well, their new IPs in the future might take Switch into consideration. Or at least bring Nintendo in on the talks and see if Nintendo thinks it'll do well. Because we got to remember, they wanted to bring Starlink to Switch, but it was Nintendo who said, hey, why don't we put Star Fox in this? So, in the case of For Honor, maybe, you bring in a Knight of Hyrule or something, right? Like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what Hoi 4 is. At first I thought I was trying to say, like, Halo 4, but I'm like, obviously Halo's not going to be on Switch. Honestly, you'd like to see the Hellblade guys make a smaller indie. Yeah, a big boy owns them now, so I don't know if you're going to see a smaller one. You're going to see they probably want another Hellblade kind of game. Ubisoft has their heads up their arse. LOL, I love them, but they rarely do on this situation. Well, I mean, the thing is, as I talked about in the podcast that just went up on Monday, one of the games I'm most excited for the rest of this year isn't Pokemon, isn't Smash, it's Starlink Battle for Atlas. Like, I think that looks amazing. I played it. I went hands-on. My mind was blown. I got that Breath of the Wild feeling when I tried out Breath of the Wild in 2016 at E3, and my mind was just blown away. And I already had bias to liking Zelda games. So I didn't have any bias to liking Starlink. I had no expectations going into that demo. Then I played it, and I'm like, my mind is blown right now. This could be huge. This could be huge. Wow. And I'm just, I can't wait. I can't wait, dude. We'll be streaming some Starlink up in here. Oh, I can't wait. Oh, it's going to be good. It's going to be so good. I don't know if I'm going to use the toys or if I'm going to, maybe I'll buy the toys for collector reasons, but I don't know if I'm going to use the toys, because I played with the toys and I also played with just using digital content because you don't have to buy the toys at all. I'll probably own the Star Fox Artwing, of course. But just because even if I don't use it, I want to set it up as a showpiece saying, look at this, I got the R-Wing with Fox McCloud back here. Like, that's awesome. It's a cool showpiece. I would love to have like the whole Star Fox crew as showpieces up on one of my shelves. I would literally clear off a shelf and just make it Star Fox if I had every single R-Wing with all the different characters, Slippy and Peppy and all that stuff in there. Falco. Yeah, that's basically what I said, Mr. Snappy Paws. All the games looked really good. We just didn't get that one game, like when Travis Strikes Again was announced, that just like, yeah, or like Golf Story, where you're like, okay, that's the game Nintendo should have been making this whole time, like for Mario Golf. Blah, blah, blah. Like there wasn't that wow moment, but there was a lot of, yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. Yeah, that's pretty good. Like maybe not for me, but I can see the appeal. Blah blah blah. Like, you'll be back. It's all right. We're going to be ending the stream here soon. I got to go make lunch for the kiddos. Just reading some more of the chat here. Starlink feels very unlike current Ubisoft. Looks like a game they'd make back in the GameCube days. I disagree. Have you been paying attention to current Ubisoft? I don't know if you have been paying attention. Like, you can argue a game like The Division and the Watch Dogs, like Watch Dogs, you can kind of maybe see how that fits into current Ubisoft, maybe more so than old school, but then they drop For Honor and Trials Rising. It's like those games are very much in that Starlink mode of like completely original new ideas, just doing something crazy, and seeing if it works and seeing what the market is for it. And I know For Honor didn't get off to the greatest launch, but today For Honor is growing and growing and growing because the game it is today is amazing. So it's one of those situations where I think current Ubisoft is very much like old Ubisoft, like old school Ubisoft, not Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 Ubisoft, but like the Ubisoft that we saw way back in the day where they were always trying new things. Ubisoft is one of the few AAA studios that basically unveils a brand new IP every year. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that like it feels like every E3 Ubisoft has a brand new IP? We got Anthem from EA. What was the last brand new IP before that we saw from EA? Like not an indie style, like where they're publishing an indie game, but I mean, an actual in-house built EA game. When's the last time that we saw a brand new AAA IP out of them? I'm even trying to think of Sony. What the last huge brand new AAA style IP was? I mean, maybe Bloodborne. Even though I know they paid for that, they didn't make it. Sony owns some studios now, but yeah, Ubisoft's bringing it like every year. I mean, think about with The Division and For Honor, Trials Rising. And even if you want to dismiss Trials Rising, it's fine. Or Trials Rising is not actually; it's a sequel to Trials. But with For Honor, The Division, Watch Dogs, Starlink Battle for Atlas, Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, technically, crossover new IP. Like, Ubisoft's been bringing it, man, when it comes to that stuff. Oh, Stardew Valley multiplayer. Has that released yet? I don't own Stardew Valley. Hasn't? I thought they released the multiplayer a little bit ago. And it just kind of went under the radar. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe it was just a tweet showing it working rather than actually having it be applied. Again, I don't own Stardew Valley, so I'm not sure. I remember them tweeting out gameplay of it working, showing that the multiplayer is working. And that they said it was coming soon, and this was like months ago. So Rayman Legends, sure. Well, the thing is, Rayman's been around a long time, so that was just a great entry in an established IP. So I don't really view that as like old school Ubisoft. That's more so, hey, look, we're gonna stop dicking around and actually make a good one. It's kind of like when we got Sonic Mania. Hey, let's stop dicking around and actually have a good Sonic game. We have to talk about Ubisoft and all their games can come. They just have to port them to Nintendo Switch. Well, every game in the world can come to Switch. It's a question of, do the people who made the game feel like the sacrifices needed to be made in order to run at a competent level on Switch are sacrifices that still present the game in the way that they want it presented? And reality is, for a lot of companies, the answer is probably no. They're not cool with sub HD. They're not cool with 30 FPS in some cases. They're not cool with draw distance being massively cut down and blurry textures and getting rid of anti-aliasing and a whole bunch of other things, shadows, and like they don't like the way their game looks when they do that. They look at that and they're just like, that's not our original vision. We don't really want that. And it's hard to get mad when that's the case. We just don't hear that often, right? Like no one wants to. When we hear any comment about third parties and not coming to Switch, it's usually because they laugh at the platform. But what the third parties that are there, like Ubisoft, what they're not telling you is like, yeah, we could, but we're not really. Like, we could bring the new Assassin's Creed over, but you don't really understand the creative vision and like how we just took a look at what it would take and we're like, it's just not worth it. That kind of stuff. But yeah, For Honor. Dude, For Honor is awesome. Cornflake says you never get to play For Honor, but you have a friend who worked as a graphics designer on it. Nice. Yeah, dude, For Honor is amazing now. At launch, it was a bit of a mess. Online was a bit of a mess. It kind of ran into that rut that some AAA games run into where they release, but they're not really fully finished, and there's bugs. And that was a big issue with For Honor. And if you go through the development history of For Honor, that's not a surprise. For Honor was kind of pushed out the door way too fast. The guy that they made the face of For Honor didn't even work at Ubisoft anymore by the time the game released, due to some creative decisions and mistakes and disagreeing with the guy's vision for the game. But ultimately, For Honor, what it is today, is basically the original vision for the game. and it's awesome. I mean, they just were giving it away for free not too long ago on PC, and like the player base is just increasing because it's just a fun. There's like no other game on the market like For Honor. It's like sitting in its own market. It's awesome, and good for them. The way the game is now, like to bounce back from how crappily it was at launch to what it is today, and have a growing install base, people still buying the game because of the reputation going around for it. Like, so like it's a bit of what it is now is Ubisoft of old, and a bit of what it was at launch is Ubisoft of new, which is like, hey, you hit your budget, we're not giving you any more money, get the game out the door. It's like business decision versus creative decisions, and it always there's always butt heads, especially when it comes to new IPs that aren't proven. Like you can argue, okay, we'll give an extra year for Assassin's Creed games, right? They're doing that again. No Assassin's Creed next year. They're giving extra years to Assassin's Creed games, but they can do that because the sales of Assassin's Creed games they know will justify the extra development time. Whereas a game like For Honor, okay, if we throw more money into it, can we really know we're going to get that money back? You know, there's business decisions that go into new IPs. New IPs are very risky. So I try to understand from both sides. Reality is what For Honor is today is awesome. I was just playing it at my friend's house last week. Oh my god, I've never played a game like it. It is so cool. Got wrecked because a lot of the players are really good at the game. But if I played it a lot more, I could. It's just like Fortnite. I was getting absolutely wrecked when I first started playing Fortnite, and now I do all right. I'm not just hiding in a corner, boxing myself in, hoping to survive to the last two and get lucky like I was before. Like now I'm out in the world. I'm actively shooting at players. I'm even building a little bit now. Not a lot. I'm not that good at it, but I'm building a little bit. I'm getting a little more proficient at it, and it's kind of like one of those things. Same with For Honor. Like, yeah, I'm going to get rep, but the more and more you play it, the better and better you get slowly, even if you're not trying to get better, right? Like I'm not actively trying to get really, really good at Fortnite, but just through playing it more and more and more, I'm naturally improving my skills. And it's cool. It's cool watching that evolution. I was watching one of my old Fortnite live streams, and then I watched last night. So I'm like, just watching that evolution from what I was doing before to what I'm doing now. It's almost night and day, like different players. Kind of cool. I mean, I'm still not, good enough to get to get solo wins necessarily. I mean, I could get solo wins. I have a solo win before, so I can get a solo win now. But to get them consistently, obviously, I'm not that good. There's people that just rock at that game that I can't compete with right now. We know it's coming, but I was surprised to see the Save the World mode for Fortnite. Even if you say it could come, I already know it's coming, so surprised a little not to see it. I'm not. Fortnite's not an indie game. I'm not sure you're aware of that, because the thing is, Paladins was an indie game. Fortnite's not an indie game. It's free to play. It's not an indie game. It's made by Epic. You know who they are? They're the people that make the Unreal Engine. They've made tons of AAA games over the years. Fortnite Battle Royale is not an indie game. So to see that mode and an indie thing would be disingenuous to the rest of the indies. Activision needs to learn from Ubisoft. I mean, it looks like they're going right with Spyro Reignited, and they did good with Crash Insane Trilogy. And the Blizzard side of Activision Blizzard has just been, hitting home runs because the Blizzard side kind of works independent of Activision. It's like it's all one company. Activision Blizzard is one company, but there's an Activision building and a Blizzard building, and they kind of work separate from each other. And that was intentionally done when the merger happened to make it so like Call of Duty didn't necessarily influence World of Warcraft, and Overwatch didn't influence Call of Duty and stuff like that. Because both sides are so highly profitable at what they do, why intermix it and potentially screw it up and lose your consumer base? So the Blizzard side, they have BlizzCon every year. Like Blizzard side's always been doing phenomenal for the most part. And then you have the Activision side, which is actually doing really, really well money-wise. But not every game they release, gets the kind of praise that like a Blizzard game gets when Hearthstone comes out, Overwatch comes out, the new WoW expansion comes out. Everyone's like, man, these games are really, really, really good. New Call of Duty comes out. Yeah. I guess it's okay. How not all them do, the best ones. So you prove you have played these games, don't call them trash. Are people still going over how all the games are trash because they don't appeal to them kind of thing? If you have the chance, look up the trailer for Tanzia. The devs say it's inspired by Vanilla WoW and Zelda. It looks awesome. Okay. I'll have to give that a look. You know me, I love WoW. Vanilla WoW was my favorite time period in WoW. 60-man raids, 40-man raids. I mean, there was 60, 80 plus, world boss fights, but 40-man raids. And Zelda obviously is awesome. It's what you expected, not bad. Yeah. Anyways, I think we're gonna head out here. Just to kind of close my thoughts on the Nindie Direct, I felt that it was about what I expected, which is just to see a bunch of really good indie games. And we saw a bunch of really good indie games. I hoped for a wow moment, like man, that's really, really cool. That's going to drive people to potentially even pick up a Switch for that game. I didn't see any of that, but what I saw were a lot of high-quality games, and I couldn't be more excited to try out some of these games in the future, including the one that released today. The tactical one that came out today, I might give a look. And the video's unavailable, which tells me it's a great time to end it. All right, folks. Catch you later.